Hello, my name is Mr. Polk and welcome to my kitchen. Today we want to take a look at making the chicken thighs. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a braised thigh. So we're going to use our sautoir and we're going to sear the skin really nicely. Then we're going to put in some veggies, deglaze the pan, and then we're just going to let it cook in that deglazing liquid, and then we'll finish it with some sauteed apples. So let's go ahead and let's get cooking. Okay, so let's get started with our thighs. And one of the things that we have here is I've got the sautoir going, the high sides, because we're going to braise, and I've got the oil in there. And we're going to go ahead and season our thighs. So we're just going to do just a little bit of kosher salt and a couple grinds of the pepper. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and place these in. So we're just going to take them, and it's important that they go in skin side down. And I give the pan one of these, just to make sure that the oil is coated. We want that thin layer. And it's just skin side down. You hear that noise? It's what I call the sizzle sazzle. When you hear the sizzle sazzle, then you know you're ready. Okay? If you don't hear the sizzle sazzle, what's going to happen is your chicken is just going to sit in cold oil and it's going to soak up that oil. But right now, it's cooking. Okay? So that's cooking. While that's cooking, you're going to notice I have some bacon going. And what we're going to do with the bacon is we're rendering out the fat. We're not going to use the bacon to go on the dish, okay? We're going to use the bacon to add flavor. So the bacon, it's going to render out, okay? We're rendering out a lot of the fat right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in, and while it sautés and while it cooks down, that flavor is going to come out of the bacon into it. And this is an applewood smoked bacon. All right, so we've got these going here. We're just going to kind of let them simmer for a little while. Okay, so you just, again, with sauteing, you just got to let it sit. And I know that's very difficult as a chef. You always want to poke it and touch it, but you can't. As they say, you trust the process. And you use your fish turner to very carefully get underneath it and flip it. Look at that skin. That's what you want, that beautiful color on that skin. And you watch how I do that little scrape. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, this is what this chicken right now is so happy. It's talking to me. Look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and sear it on the other side. And then we'll pull it away, and then we'll go ahead and take care of sweating the pan and doing all that fun stuff to get our stock ready. The other thing that I want to show you is that this dish gets garnished with sauteed apples. And I just peeled Granny Smith apples, okay? And the green ones, it gives it that tartness a little bit to the dish. And all I'm going to do here is put them in the pan, and I'm just going to saute them off a little bit on each side. I don't want to turn them to mush town, okay, but I don't want them to be all crispy like this. But I just want to put them in there and just give them a little bit of color. And I had clarified butter in there. Let me see how this is looking. The other side cooks very quickly. Okay, these just look great. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these, and then we're going to get set up and take a look at making the stock that we're going to use to braise in our braising liquid. Okay, so now that I removed the thighs, I'm going to go ahead and put in some shallots. Shall I shall. And these are going to work just like I do with the onions, in that I'm going to bring them around here. And I'm going to try and scrape off some stuff. All right, I'm actually going to switch to my old friend here, the fish turner, and see if I can get a little bit more off the bottom of that pan. Oh, that's looking good. And all I'm looking to do here is sweat these guys out, meaning that I want them to soften, but I'm really not looking for too much color. All right, those are looking great. In the meantime, let's check out our apples. And I'm just going to flip them over so you can see that they softened at this point. All right, and they've got a touch of color to them, but they definitely, they're not mushy. I don't want to pick them up and flip them over and they turn into applesauce. And what I'm going to do here is just turn this on low, and I'm just going to put in just a touch of the apple cider. This is just apple cider. It's just going to let them simmer out a little bit. I'm going to turn it on real low and just kind of let it do its thing. Now back here, remember, we don't want to put the garlic in too soon. That's a mistake. All right, if it starts to darken, it's going to get bitter. So I'm going to put the garlic in, and then I'm going to give it a quick stir around, and then I'm going to bring in the bacon. All right. Now I'm not doing the bacon fat. I'm just kind of getting the top of the bacon out there because we rendered the fat out. Now look at that. All right. If I was a chicken, I would definitely want to go in here with all of these shallots and garlic and bacon. And now my favorite part, we're going to start with the chicken stock, and we're going to do a deglaze. Just a little bit. You can't pour too much in. Okay, the idea is that as soon as it boils, it releases what's underneath it. If I would have poured that whole jar in, I could have cooled the pot down to the point where it wasn't going to boil. Now look at that. That's how you know how to deglaze, when it's clean like that. That's beautiful. Now, we're going to go ahead and put the rest of the stock in. We're going to put in cider. So that was about a half cup of stock. This is going to be a cup of cider. Just regular old apple cider. And then to give it just a little bit of acid taste there, we're going to put in a tablespoon of the cider vinegar. And then that's going to come to a boil. All right. And then once it comes to a boil, you're going to turn it down to simmer, because you don't want to. We're not going to try and boil this chicken. We just want to simmer it. And then you're going to return this in skin side up, because we've already did such a really nice job with browning that skin that the last thing I want to do is let it wash off. Then we're going to let that come to a simmer. And then once it comes up to a simmer, we're going to cover it. And we're just going to simmer it until the thighs are done. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, look at that. That is looking good. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the heat. And we want to cook these so they're at least 165. I prefer closer to 185 on the thighs to make sure that they're good and tender. But definitely cooking them this way, they're definitely tender, and they're gorgeous. I'm just putting them on this little platter. You could serve them as a single, or here I'm going to do it more as if it'd be like a little family style. That looks awesome. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all of this wonderful stuff here, and we're going to strain it out. What we want is just the stock. Remember, I know you're thinking, oh, that bacon. The bacon has been cooking for maybe 30 minutes. It doesn't really have much left to it. It was the flavor that we took out of the bacon that we wanted. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use that to make a simple pan sauce. So once you strain out all of the goodies here, okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to need a good half cup. All right, you could do a little more if you wanted to, and you're just going to put that. You could use a saucepan if you want, but I'm just going to use this little guy here, this little saute pan, and I'm just going to get it to a boil. And then once it starts to thicken a little bit, then I'll go ahead and put in the butter. Okay, so we can see here, we're going to move it around a little bit. Wonderful flavor coming out of there. And we're just going to go ahead and let it boil for a little. Let it come up to a boil and then let it simmer. And then once it simmers for a little bit, look at that all popping up like that. And again, I like doing this in a little saute pan, but you could easily be doing this in a saucepan. It doesn't matter. I'm just making it more like a pan sauce. And you're going to notice, because it's been reducing so much, it already has a thickness to it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and let it reduce a little bit more. And then when I'm happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and put in my butter just to add that flavor. And there's our little sauce. And then we're going to take a look at how we're going to plate this. Okay, so we're ready to go here. We've got our thighs. They look awesome. We're going to go ahead and put on our apples. And I just saute these. Now I'm doing this more, like a platter. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay one little apple half on top of each. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some of that wonderful pan sauce that has the cider and everything in there. And I'm just going to drizzle some over top of each, over top of the apple. I mean, that just looks awesome. And it's just going to add to the flavor. And then because I had all that bacon flavor, but then got rid of it, all right, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple pieces of really nice crisp bacon on top there just to kind of garnish and seal the dish. And there you can see how you can take, go ahead and turn them up a little bit. All right, so you can see it in the camera. There you can take something, a thigh, that not everybody likes. It's the dark meat. But you're going to cook it in such a way that you're going to sear that skin. And then you're going to use that flavor to make your braising liquid. And then braise them to their fork tender. And then put the apples in the bacon. And you just have a wonderful dish. So thank you for cooking with me today. And I can't wait to cook with you real soon right here in Mr. Polk's kitchen.